I want to cover Azalea because Azalea has been doing very well in Project Blue basically since the beginning of the format. She has a lot of explosive potential, specifically with Death Dealer and Honing Hood, so I wanted to cover the deck very quickly, jump into a game, that way you can see how it plays. Azalea has the ability to give Dominate to arrows, which in a format with basically no good blocking equipment is incredibly powerful. Most decks don't really have access to 2 blocks on equipment, so when you're able to send things with Dominate, most decks kind of fold under the pressure. When we go through equipment, we have some blocking equipments, but the things I want to point out, obviously, are Death Dealer is legal in this format, so you have an incredibly powerful weapon. And then you also have Honing Hood, which means that if you go second, you're able to start the game with 5 cards. So this means that you can start your first turn going second with full tempo with 5 cards at your disposal. I have sent 21 damage with this deck going second. I sent 17 with 2 Blood Rots with an on hit, right? So in essence, 21 damage going second, which I think is insane for this deck. You also get a lot of the really good on hits because the lace cards are rare, so they're available in this format. So these are incredibly explosive cards. You have Infecting Shot. You just have a ton of damage output. All of these buffs were not available in Commoner, but they are now in Project Blue. So now you get like Release Attention and Take Aim, so powerful. And you also get Bolden Shot as ways to extend your turn. Some pickups from High Seas are going to include Calling the Big Guns and Dry Powder Shot. It's more damage, more reloading. And then we have some opt effects, and then we just have some yellows that you'll play sometimes, and not all the time, but they just kind of round out our yellow base, so that way you're able to go a load Death Dealer with the yellow, load a 1-cost arrow, fire the 1-cost arrow. Our inventory are just niche sideboard arrows for certain matchups, depending on when you need to play them. And then our maybe board just has Death Touch. It's just a popper if like stuff like Illusionist, specifically Jeromai or Prism are popular for you, or you want more fatigue tech pieces against something like Guardian. Like this is just like a good game ender. The deck is relatively self-explanatory, but we'll jump into a game. That way you can see how it plays. All right, so we're playing against Jeromai here. I feel like it's a pretty easy swap in terms of sideboarding. We're just going to be playing a Hamstring Shot because she's primarily a red line based deck. And then we're going to play Sleep Dart because it turns off her hero power to give all of our allies go again. However, we are going second, so that does mean we might want to consider some different things. So Sedation Shot is less impactful because she'll already have an arsenal at that point. And then I kind of think I might cut Drill Shot here, even though it is pretty good as a 0 cost. The thing is that most Jeromais have the equipments that break on turn 1 to give them Ash or card draw. So it's kind of pointless to play it in my opinion. So we'll just run this and see how it works. Our goal here is just to Honing Hood in something, probably Bolden Shot, and then starting our turn with a bunch of cards. That way we're actually able to play the Bolden Shot with the Lace, load the Infecting Shot. You know, we're going to get a pretty explosive turn. Go ahead, we'll load our Bolden Shot. They're going to get 2 cards here. We'll see what they do with it, if they send it face or not. We can block a little bit. I prefer to keep most of this hand here because it functions really well. Mirror Guy is not very impactful here. We could think about blocking. I feel like it may not matter and my hand is really explosive, so I'm going to gamble on the 2 life. That could end up biting us in the end, but I feel okay taking the risk here. If we draw an arrow, it will be a lot worse. Okay, so we do end up drawing an arrow. So a little bit unfortunate, but we have some options, but I think the most obvious line to me is just playing this hand out for 7, and then loading our Infecting Shot, sending it for 5. Okay, so we get no blocks here. It means we get a reload. We're not going to do anything with the reload, unfortunately. But our opponent is already low as is, so we're doing exactly what we want to do. Go ahead and we'll load our Infecting Shot. And we hit a Lace, which is perfect. We'll go ahead and we'll send this for 8. Our opponent is already almost dead. And it's early as turn 2. So, I mean, Honing Hood feels like an incredibly powerful card in this deck. Looks like our opponent's taking it. So they're going down to 1. We're going to arsenal our Powder Shot. And then if we can just dominate on the next turn, the game is over. So And we do have Rabble and Reed in the hand, so we have a lot of good damage extension. Our opponent is going to play a Kyloria, so we're going to block with probably our Hamstring Shot and our Boots. The only reason for this is that we have a 0 cost in Arsenal, and we can load the Bolden Shot with Bullseye's Bracers, so we don't really need the 1 cost. Our entire hand converts to damage regardless. And with our opponent going down to potentially 1 this turn, I really just don't know how they win the game at this point. We'll take the Ashwing here. It's not a big deal. The only thing we could consider is clearing the Kyloria with something, but it may end up just being better just to send it all face. The Dust Up is also not a problem. I mean, once again, our opponent's going to 1 here. It's really huge for us. All right, our opponent goes to 1. We'll go and play Read the Glide Path, see what the top card of the deck is. If it's an arrow, I mean, the game is basically over. We might as well just play the Rabble. Send it, Dromai for 4, eat 2 cards. I mean, there's really kind of no point going through any of these motions, but might as well convert the Go again, right? Just in case, if for some reason they do have a way out. Flip it in, and we can even use the Knocker here. And that way, if for whatever reason we have to play another turn, we could just Arsenal the Bolden Shot, right? In the hypothetical that our opponent has more life. Very easy deck to pilot, I think. Fortunately means we got to block with everything, which is a bummer. So I really wanted to keep, I mean, this hand just looks absolutely insane. We could gamble on it, but I don't want to gamble on that much life. I think that's way too much, in my opinion. Rabble is probably the best thing to keep here. It's just the cleanest Go Again conversion. So also give us knowledge of the top of the deck. Send the Rabble to Vincerikai just to clear it. We just can't have that on the table. But then the rest of our hand is pretty simple to play. We'll go ahead and we'll load our Dry Powder Shot. It's going to get buffed up by a ton of damage. And we'll also give it Inertia as well. We could actually consider flipping here, because if we hit a pump, we can play the pump and then just load off the Bullseye Bracer and send the Withering Shot. But I think I'm possibly content with just ending this for 5. I mean, this is like a pretty good statted arrow. It might be greedy. But I think because we have the Bullseye Bracer and we're going second, it might be okay with this line being a little bit more greedy to us. We end up getting rewarded. And we could pop the chest for the aim counter. I just don't feel like it's not relevant, to be honest. But we could pay with the other yellow in our hand. I don't think it's worth it. I think we're just going to send this as is. I mean, this is already a lot of damage. So we're definitely happy with our turn 2 play. Our opponent doesn't have an arsenal, so it may make it harder for them to set up. And they're down their chest piece as well. So from here on out, things like Hamstring Shot get a lot more effective against them, and they don't get bailed out by any of their all red hands. This hand is pretty good for extending here. We can potentially send a lot of damage, especially with the resource in the chest piece with the Death Dealer. We're obviously not going to block Blaze. We could consider blocking the Kyloria. The only thing to consider, though, is that because they have an inertia, there's a chance it may not convert. So I am considering basically greeting on this and not blocking it. We'll get a reload off the Bolden Shot if we use bracers on it as well. This may end up being a mistake here, but just because they have the inertia and they have a lot of cards in their deck that cost good amounts of resources, I think there's a chance that they actually won't convert both cards here. We of course could be wrong, but I think I'm willing to take that gamble here with them at 9. Like, we're gonna pressure their life total pretty hard this turn, especially with them going essentially down to 7. All right, so it looks like they weren't able to convert the Kyloria hit, so it's like what we talked about, didn't really matter. So I'm a bit happy with that gamble. The only thing I'm worried about here, though, is if we flip into another arrow, then we don't actually get to play out our whole hand. So we are riding a lot on this flip, hitting a buff. Okay, we do get rewarded. So we'll pop the chess piece, and then we're going to go ahead and load the Bolden Shot red. We'll play our lace. And I think if we also want to play the take game, I think we're good for now. We'll go ahead and send this at face for 10. All right, it looks like our opponent just scoops up there. Maybe they thought it was lethal. I'm not sure. Maybe they thought it was dominated. I'm not sure, but regardless, so if they block 3 on this, they'll take 1. They'll go to 6, and then we present another 8 at them. Oh, so they're actually dead this turn regardless. So it actually doesn't matter. So both these games are 3 turns each. Pretty absurd damage output on this deck, all things considered. I think it mainly is Honing Hood. Just going to start with those 5 cards. Really makes such a huge difference. But hopefully this was helpful for you understanding the deck. Until next time, thank you for watching.